Welcome to Rawsome Parents, the podcast where parenting gets real, raw, and awesome. Parenting is messy, magical, and transformational. So whether you're navigating new parenthood, single parenting, co-parenting, or rediscovering yourself after the kids have moved out, you are not alone. Here we share raw truths, heartfelt stories, and playful conversations with parents and experts, because suffering is optional, and together we can lead with love, heal what holds us back, and create lives full of fun and integrity for ourselves and our kids. So grab a coffee, hit subscribe, and join us on this wild ride. Let's get raw and awesome. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Rawsome Parents podcast with me, Shaun Tucker. And I'm today honored to be with Hue Kedge, who is a self-confessed creative entrepreneur who strategically turns her passions into businesses, allowing her to do more of what she loves. She has a background in international luxury marketing. She's lived and worked in Sydney, Hong Kong, and London in the first 10 years of her career. She's now based in Ipswich, Queensland, where she balances building her creative ventures with raising her family. Through her work, she inspires others to embrace creativity, proving that business and passion can beautifully coexist. Hue, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Shaun. Thanks for having me.
It's a great pleasure, and I'd love to lean into for you to lean into the spotlight here a little bit, because business and family, when you know your why, and if your why is to do with family, why you're doing business, and you're showing your kids that there's a greater possibility within them, that they don't just have to work for the rest of their life, but they can do something they love. I think that is so powerful. But there is also this other side to it, where maybe you're not able to spend as much, quantity of time with your family because you're kind of busy with your businesses and building things, right? So how do you balance with, I suppose, the mum guilt and the wanting to work on something that you love to do?
Shaun, for me, the mum guilt is real. It's a massive part of what I struggle with mostly, because I've always wanted to be a parent, and now that I am a parent, I have a beautiful 8-year-old and 11-year-old. The struggle is, how do you balance work and family? And there is actually no such thing as balance. I think it's more of a flow, of a harmony. So some weeks my business needs me to survive. Without me, it doesn't survive. So some weeks it's very much heavily business, and other weeks my kids need me. And then in which case it needs to be very much with my family. So the way I guess I balance it is you just go with the flow, and the needs will pull you in the direction. So if my children need me, business can step aside. I'm there for my children. And if it's a week where my business needs me, I'm going to have to, apologize to my kids and explain to them that this is what I need to focus on at the moment. And as soon as that's done, my full attention's on them. Because, you've got to, as a business owner, your business is very important, but at the same time, the reason why you're in business is so that you can provide for your family.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a flow effect rather than balance.
Totally agree. It is an integration, I think, for many people, and things really do get out of balance. I mean, I see I guess it's a lot of gender roles still playing out within families. Like, I do see a lot of men and also women, right? Women also guilty of this, like mums especially, but I think dads are probably more guilty of this, is they spend 99% of their time working and providing, and very, very, very limited amount of time, less quality as well, time and being present with their family.
Because they're so drained, right? They're so drained.
Exactly right. But their why is also, they're doing it because they're family. They want to provide, they want to protect, they want to be there for their family and for their kids, but they're so worn out.
It's hard because society expects so much from you. And I think in the day and age that we live in, there's an urgency to everything. So you think that you need to do so much. So you've got your phone with you 24/7 and you almost don't have an excuse not to, well, you feel like you don't have an excuse not to reply to an urgent email or phone call. But the key here is just boundaries. I think everyone who runs their own business really struggles with boundaries. And I've been running my own business for almost 15 years and I've got boundaries in. And each day I try to push that boundary and make it a little bit firmer. But it's still hard. It's still very hard. And the balance.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I remember just this morning, I recall just this morning I felt like I was maybe going to be a little bit late. I was out walking my dog, be late to my first meeting because I decided to go on a longer walk with my dog because I haven't done a longer walk with him for quite some time. And I was like, should I message them? Should I not message them? If I walk a little bit faster, maybe I won't be late. Like the boundary was to be on time, right? Like that's me. That's what I care about is being on time because it's respectful to the person that I'm meeting, but it's also like holding that boundary in place. And I noticed in my mind, I started like, I can push it maybe 3, 4, 5 minutes, which is kind of just stretching. But at the same time, it's like you said, it's kind of going with the flow. It's really important.
But the
But
key
secondly,
thing
being
is
aware of the boundary.
Yeah, you're aware that there is a boundary. And I very consciously said years ago that I won't take phone calls after business hours. I just won't. If it's really, really urgent, leave me a message and then I will decide if I want to take it. But I always let things go to voicemail because, that's the time we have dinner, we spend with the family. And it's unfair to my family if I'm sitting there on the phone while we're meant to be having family time because even though I'm physically there, I'm not mentally there. And I think it's one of the lessons that I've learned from my parents because years ago, my sister filmed them and interviewed them. And she asked them, growing up, because there's 5 of us, what was the biggest regret that they wish they'd done more of when they were raising us? And because my parents were refugees, they worked night and day just to provide for us. And what they said was it wasn't that what they couldn't give us in terms of the things, it was what they couldn't give us in terms of the time to get to know us each as individuals, because they knew they had 5 children and they knew they had 3 daughters and 2 sons, but we were just their kids. They didn't actually get to spend the time to understand who we were as people, as individuals. And they said that was actually their biggest regret. And, that's really sunk in with me because I actually want to know who my children are, their personalities, their likes and dislikes, so that I can not only be their friend, but I can be their support. And and work with their strengths and help them with their weaknesses.
Yeah, so important.
Yeah.
And I think many parents, especially running small businesses or bigger business, it's when they're I suppose, if that's your income generator in your family, you want to do everything in your power to make sure that keeps moving forward. And if you care about things like intergenerational wealth and all these other things that kind of come from you having more power and more responsibility and I suppose taking a bigger risk, right? That's what comes with running a small business. But the most important aspect to all of that is like, why are you doing it?
Your why is so important. You can work and make a lot of money, but if your relationship with your family, friends and children are strained because they don't know who you are because you're never there, then what's the point? They just treat you as the bank.
Yeah,
What are you
exactly.
getting out of it? You're killing yourself for, and providing this amazing lifestyle to your family, but you're not actually making the thing that really matters to the young children who actually their memory bank needs to be filled with experiences with you. And the things that you give them, like my children would not be able to tell you the birthday gifts and the Christmas gifts that they receive over the years. They wouldn't remember. But you know what? They'll remember the time when I read them a story. They'll remember the time when, like I took them to the park for ice cream, that one-on-one, like chocolate coffee date with my son or something.
Yeah.
They're the memories that they will remember. They won't remember the things. I can guarantee you can ask your children what they received on the 7th birthday. They won't remember.
It's the stories that
What
they
they
remember,
did,
isn't it?
Yeah, the experiences.
The stories from those experiences.
Yeah, and the intention for me as a mum is that I want to try my best with the time that I have to give to my children and try to be as present as possible. Like you said, running a business is bloody hard. When you are the business. If you don't work, you don't get paid. So now it's about, for me, on the business side of things, it's about trying to find ways to work smarter, not harder, smarter, so that I can make more time to be present with my children.
Yeah, and I think that's very much an intention for a lot of people that are getting into business and people that have started their business. But I think when their business grows legs, right, and they're still the people that are running the business, right, because there's still manual legs that need running.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm talking before you sort of have employees and you start outsourcing and you get to that point where you're able to, I suppose, grow and scale your business without you being working in the business full time. The initial intention, I think, for a lot of business owners is like, I want to create more freedom and flexibility in my schedule so that I have more time, more presence, and just more energy with the people that I care about most. What ends up happening is almost the direct opposite. Like they're able to provide, but their freedom is gone. Their flexibility is not really there. And their presence and focus, because they're so spent, is just completely wiped out as well.
Yeah, that's it.
So it's almost like when we're raising kids in these environments, what we value, because clearly our unconscious values have changed. We're working to put all this money on the table and make sure that there's shelter and food for our kids to eat and for our families to eat. I think that's kind of what our kids take on and think that they have to value, but deep down it's not right. And they know that.
Connection. It's the
connection. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what they crave. Like the children, from babies onwards, they just want you to be there all the time. And even now, my almost 11-year-old, my 8-year-old, they want me all the time, but they understand because I've always had a business even before they were born. They understand that I run my business and my business is important. So they give me the space to do my work, which is fabulous because I'm a photographer, so I work from home. I'm home based, and I go out to my clients. So I'm not gone all day every day, out of office. When I'm working admin stuff and editing, I'm at home. So I get to spend most mornings helping my kids get ready for school. My husband is amazing. He does all the school runs and he does all the bits and bobs around. So he takes them to school. But I'm there in the mornings, every morning, most mornings anyway, helping them get ready. And then as soon as 3:30 comes, when they come back from school, I literally shut down my computer and I'm mum. I'm mum until the bedtime because that's when they need me, getting them. That's when my husband needs his help as well, to get them to do their homework, do the showers and dinner and bedtime. Because routine's important with children, and they need to know what to expect because then it makes it easier, and it makes it easier on me as well. Because sometimes after they go to bed, I'm like, right, now I can catch up on some more work. And then I need to then put boundaries on myself with doing that because I can sit here and work forever, but I can't do that because then it's not fair on my husband who is spending time with me as well.
Yeah.
So it's not just time for your kids, but it's time for your husband because, so many things that are important.
The ecosystem.
You need to intentionally make time for, because everything is about relationships. And if you don't, value relationships, you don't give the time into those relationships as you do with your business relationships, then it'll be like a plant that you forget to water. You just take it for granted, and one day you'll turn around and it's like, oh, what happened there? It's because you haven't been watering it, you haven't been feeding it, and you haven't been
Spot on. Yeah.
giving it the time, because you take so many very important things for granted because you just think they'll always be there. But if you don't put the time and effort into establishing those relationships with your other half, with your children, with your parents, one day you won't get the opportunity.
That's very, very wise, because you're absolutely right. We're here for a very limited amount of time, and it does come back to your relationships. But even, I'd say more vastly, it's kind of like the environment that you're in. If it's not being watered, like you said, right? If you're not watering the plants, if you're not letting the plants see the light of the day, if they need sunlight, right, it's going to die. And this happens to our relationships with our families, with our parents, with our kids, with our siblings. Like, sometimes it takes a rude awakening for people to see that we are only here for a very small amount of time. Because we do have this idea, I believe, in our mind that we're going to live forever. Or if we don't have it conscious in our mind that we're all going to die some point.
Yeah. And you don't know when.
We just have no idea.
My rude awakening is probably when I was 38. One of my best friends, childhood friends, that was her 40th birthday. She died of cancer.
Goodness.
And it was a 4-year battle. Yeah, she was so young, 4-year battle. So that was 7 years ago now. But she battled for 4 years, and I think before that, I've only heard of people who had passed away with cancer. I didn't actually really know anyone close, especially anyone young. And so when that happened to her, that for me, that was like, what? Life is way too short. Sadly for her, she spent most of her life doing the things that she was expected from other people, not for herself. So it took a long time to have the courage to actually leave a bad relationship, to then rediscover herself and then find a new love, a new life. And then just as that happened, and she was starting to tick all those boxes, bang, cancer. And then so they spent the next 4 years trying to, fight this demon that they couldn't control. And my voice, can you hear it? It's quivering at the moment, because it really hit home that, geez, if something, you just got to value the now. You just got to do stuff that makes sense now and not wait for one day, because that one day might not come.
Yeah.
And you got to do stuff that is important to you, because if you don't water your own roots, you can't help everyone else. So you got to fill your cup first so that you can then help others.
Yeah.
We forget that, don't we? We forget that.
We do. Yeah. One of my wise mentors, he said, don't try and take on the world until your own garden is mowed, right?
Yeah.
Like, look after your own environment first and make sure that you can maintain that, because a lot of people, they can perfect this surface level approach, but when it comes down to the bones, it's like, there's no foundation, there's no structure built in that.
Wind blows and you're timber, you're over.
Well, I'm sure you've probably heard of the story of the trees that grew in a greenhouse that had no access to wind, right? They grew like 20 or 30 meters tall and then toppled over.
Yeah.
Because the root systems weren't diverse enough to have that wind, the wind change. And literally they just toppled over because they just didn't have that strong foundation. And, family roots run really deep, of course, because it's through our bloods, it's through our genetics, through our inherited, DNA. And sometimes a lot of these things are unconscious, which is a family risk of any sort of disease can come through. So it's always important to know your family history.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of unconscious beliefs and identities and all these things that also come through. And I'm sure for you, Hui, when you've come from parents that were refugees, there must have been a lot of shedding that you've gone through to become the person you are today, to then step into that role of being a business leader and a parent and a mum.
Absolutely, Shaun. And it is because I was 2.5 when my parents fled Vietnam on a boat. So we were one of the refugees that came by boat. We didn't come by boat to Australia. We were in Malaysia for about 18 months in a refugee camp, and then we came to Australia. So I was 4 when I came to Australia. I consider myself an Australian. I can speak Vietnamese, I can read, I can write, but my values are all very Australian. And for the longest time, growing up, I was a little bit embarrassed about being who I was.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I just want to fit in. I just want to fit in. Because all I saw was my parents working. And when you're young, you don't realize that your parents are working to feed you. And they weren't working great jobs. They were working just like minimal pay jobs, just to put food on the table. So I kind of resented the fact that they weren't there and that we didn't get all the things. And it wasn't until obviously I was a little bit older that I realized, well, they're trying their best. We all have to try our best. And so there are a lot of blocks that I still have around money. There's a lot of blocks I have around emotions because being busy as they were, like I said before, their biggest regret was not being able to connect to us emotionally. And so I struggled with my emotions and sharing my emotions. And it's taken a while. I'm 46 now, and I'm finally talking about all this stuff, and my emotions are. But the more I talk about stuff, the more it becomes normal, and I can get over it easily. And so the values that I want to instill in my children are partly the stuff that I felt was missing from my life growing up. So I want to give them the time. I want to show them love and support and all that. But at the same time, I want to show them that life isn't all about work, and that if you work, we all have to work, obviously, but do a job that lights you up and that you don't have to. My parents had to do whatever job they were given, but because we live in Australia, because we have a lot of opportunities, they get to craft a career that they would love, and that they don't need to just jump in the job that they hate and feel like they're stuck. So my background's marketing. I've always done marketing. I've been lucky enough to work overseas as well, 10 years. I came back and I thought, right, now it's my time to, I guess, start my family. The way I wanted to do that was have a family, but also have a business that fits into my family life. And photography for me really fitted well into that. And I did photography because I love it. And then I started an art business a couple of years ago, and I became an artist. And that art for me was a hobby, but I turned it into business so I can spend more time doing it. And all of a sudden now I've got 2 businesses that I really love doing. And then last year I met up with Shaun and Marie, and we started an art organization, which also feeds into that creativity that is part of one of my biggest values is creativity, and I just love creating, and also being creative in terms in the ways that I think. So with my children, especially my son, who doesn't particularly like all the academic stuff at school, he's really creative. He loves to draw, and he's amazing at it. I want to show him. I want to open the doors and show him that actually lean into that creativity, because that's, if you grow and lean into that later on when you're older, you can actually make a living out of that.
Yeah.
And make money and spend all your days getting paid to do what you love to do, which is what I am doing in my job. And you don't need to go to university and be an accountant if that's not what you want to do. Don't feel like you have to go down the path. I just want to inspire my kids to follow their strengths and do what they love doing. Because when you do that, even on the really hard days, when you work for yourself, it's not all that hard.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And the best thing I think for you, I see it in you right now, is like you're leading that life that you're allowing your kids to lead. Creativity is about creating, right? It's about innovating. It's about taking what you have and doing things differently. It's about showing yourself in all of your raw, true colors, in whatever expression that takes.
And there's no boundaries with creativity either. So I try to set boundaries with my time.
Yeah.
In terms of creativity, there's no right or wrong way to do things. You can't be judged if you're creative. It's just a new idea. It's just a new way of doing something. And that's what I love about what I do. No one can say, hey, that's an F because it's not good enough.
Yeah.
Maybe not to you, but it's good enough for me. And if my clients see the value in that and they're paying me to do that, then it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. It matters what I think. And the person I'm doing it for, which is my client, if they're happy with it and if it ticks the box and it does the job, that's a good job, well done. And that's what I strive for. I'm like, I get creative for me with my art. I get creative for my clients with my photography. And now I want to really inspire the next generation and everyone just to get creative and just do the things that light them up. And if it's not in the day job, that's fine. You can still do your office job 9 to 5. Take time out on the weekends or after hours and play the piano or do some painting or do some dancing, whatever lights you up that you never had time for before. Bring it back into your life, because all you need to do is just the first step to start and then make it a habit. Like every habit, right? The more you do it, the more it becomes normal.
Yeah. But I think there's something really crucial in there too, is like, there's two things. One is habits become unconscious, right? That's
Yes.
kind of how habits work. But when you're talking here, it's more about making it conscious. It's easier because you've got frameworks, you've got routines in place where you're able to use that time in a really creative way. The second thing here, I'd love to ask the question, because courage, I think, is probably a value that you really highly, that is within your blood, but it's also, who you are. You're very daring and you're taking risks. And I guess the question I want to ask is, when did you step into that space of like, I'm ready to take a risk. Like, I'm sick of trying to fit in. I want to be someone different.
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. I've always been growing up, I've always been that person who wanted to fit in. I wanted to be like everybody else. And then I think when that wake-up call with my friend who passed away, that happened, I just quite literally realized life's too short and I have so much I want to give. At the time, I didn't quite know how, but I just knew that I had so much of me I want to give and share. Do you know what? If I do it and it fails, it's okay. I'll just get over it and do something else. And the realization for me is like, it's not too late to start anything you want to do. And every time you fail, it's never a fail, it's a lesson. So it's not a loss, it's a lesson. And I think that's the key thing, right? You don't think oh no, I failed. I've made people are going to laugh at whatever. It doesn't matter. What people will remember is like the courage to keep trying. Oh, she's doing something else. She's doing something else. And the funny thing about social media, because we live our lives on social media now, is even though you put it out there, you know what? You can always go back and delete it, and then rewrite that story, right? You can, and that's the thing. You control your life, and you control how you perceive things. And this is why I love photography. I love photography because I can use my camera to frame stuff. So you can look at the big picture, but you look at that same picture through a lens, you see a portion of that picture and you focus on that bit. So you don't see all the noise, but you see what you want to focus on. And it's the same with life. Like, your life could be a total mess. It could be chaotic, but actually just take a deep breath and refocus and zoom in on things that are really important to you. And for me, that's what courage is. It's like, okay, there's so much to do. You just step into whatever it is that you want to do and just give it a go and focus. And if it doesn't quite work out, that's all right. Zoom out and refocus on something else and take those failures or lessons as lessons and don't make the same mistake again. It's not easy.
Yeah, the words "keep searching" from Steve Jobs kind of come into my mind here, because you're right. It's like you can keep on trying, and I honestly think obviously you learn a lot from failure,
Yes.
but I think where people get very stuck, and where I've personally got stuck before, is like almost playing too small, right?
Yes.
And you think that this is all there is, and then you start almost fitting into this identity that you've created for yourself, and you already know that it's making you miserable.
It's a box. You put yourself in a box and it's like, no, don't.
Forever expand. I
You
keep
know what?
searching.
I can't remember. I heard it somewhere, but it's like if you don't make your dreams big enough, it just becomes another item on your to-do list. And that's a little bit boring, right? Then it's easy. It's like, well, tick my dreams done. So you need to, when you make big goals and you make big dreams, you need to dream big.
Yeah, live your life as if you're going to take 3 lifetimes to fulfill that dream.
Yeah, but take it a step at a time. That's what I find. Because
So
sometimes
dream massively.
that's it. Sometimes you can dream so big, it's overwhelming, right? But all you need to do is take it way back, right, that's my ultimate goal. But each day, I just take one step, maybe some days 2 steps, a little bit closer. And if I take a step back because something didn't work, that's right, I just take 3 steps next time. So you just keep trying to move forward regardless. And then as long as you get closer to the goal than you were when you started, I think that's a win.
Correct, yeah. Through my journey, I think it's realizing that it's not linear, and it's certainly not, downhill or uphill. It's a little bit downhill, a little bit sideways, a little bit uphill and backwards. Like we're constantly going. As long as you're moving in the one direction, then I don't think there's any point in trying to identify if you're going the right, right step forward.
Fine.
Or
sometimes you might take a detour.
Yeah,
that's just life. But as long as you've got, an end point, that's where you're heading.
Exactly. Yeah. Quite so much wisdom coming from you. I really appreciate today's conversation. We're actually getting towards the end of the podcast today, but I'd love to ask you a question, which is going back to when I suppose, we'll lean into that moment you found out that your friend was basically going to die from cancer. So 7-8 years ago. What was that little bit of wisdom that you kind of just repeated, like the mindset that you adopted? It was like, let's go, let's not stop.
For me, life is short, and it's, you know when you have a gut feeling about something, whether it's a good gut feeling or a bad gut feeling, just follow it. Just follow it and action it, because, just say relationship, for example, if you're in a bad relationship, you kind of know, right? So why would you spend the next 5 years in a relationship that isn't going to work? So I kind of feel like if your gut's telling you something, just move on from it. And if it's a business thing, if you start a business or you start a project and you're like, ugh, how sometimes you take on new clients and you kind of already know that it's going to be a lot of work, and you go, damn, I wish I would have been too busy to take on that job. It's always your gut feeling, right? And then at the opposite end as well, when you have a gut feeling that something exciting, incredible, can happen, it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of risk, but you feel it in your gut that you really want this thing to work. Do everything you can to make it work. And I think that's what that whole those years have taught me, is like, life's too short to just be stuck. You gotta, if you feel it in your gut and you really are passionate about something, make it happen. Yeah.
Yeah. And keep fueling that passion, because the flame will get brighter and it will get smaller.
And it's contagious as well. Energy is contagious. So if you're really passionate about something that you love, everyone around you will feel it, and that'll fuel their flames as well. And then they'll want to get involved in whatever you're doing. And that's what I love. I just love spreading that creative energy around, and hopefully, start a little creative fire.
I love that. Visionaries have the idea, right? That's what it starts with, and then that idea draws people into, I guess the leaders with vision help those people with dreams. That's pretty simply
I love
summarized.
that. Yeah, absolutely love that quote.
So, Hui, thank you so much for today. It's been a pleasure having you. Before we finish up, I just want everyone to know how they can connect with you best, and where is the best place to find you and see what you're doing online.
Absolutely. So I'm a bit everywhere. Best way to connect with me, my personal profile is Hue Kedge Official on Facebook. So that's where I share all my things. But if you want to follow my art, I'm on Instagram and Facebook as Hue the Artist, so Hue the Artist. And I've got a new venture with Shaun and Marie, and it's an art organisation called Creative Hearts Co. And we're on Facebook and Instagram.
Awesome. I'll make sure that I link all of those in the show notes. So if you want to check out what Hui's up to, make sure you click on those links and see what she's doing and get in contact.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Shaun. That was a good chat.
Awesome. Thanks, Hui. And if you want Hui on the show again, please let us know and we'll make it happen. But for now, have a beautiful week and we'll see you in the next episode. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Rawsome Parents, where we keep it raw, real, and awesome. If you loved this episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. Your support helps us reach more parents just like you. And hey, remember, parenting is a wild ride, but you're never in it alone. If you need more support or just want to connect, find me on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram at the Shaun Tucker. Until next time, stay raw, stay awesome, and keep leading with love. See you soon.